3, 2, 1, send it! Oh! So this is part 2 of my Vietnam sketchbook tour. Basic recap of last episode. I've been going through this sketchbook which I took with me to Vietnam, and I was sketching in it whenever I could, and we spent 3 weeks in Vietnam going from top to bottom and then kind of back up to Hanoi. So here we're kind of on the second half of the trip.
My skin trap doesn't function and they're making this look easy. I think this is a lot more difficult than it has. There's a huge one over there.
This was at the Mekong Delta, stilted building that I saw in the boat as I was there. Very interesting place. That I thought was a Christian crucifix on the roof. It wasn't a crucifix because I saw another one on another house later on down the river. It was actually to attach cables, telephone access. I actually hate that fruit. It's called durian. I think it tastes disgusting. I was wincing and making a face, and I heard loads of laughter, and I looked around and everyone on the boat, which is about 20-25 people, had all been watching me with bated breath as I'd tried some of this durian. As soon as I made the face, they just started cracking up laughing. This is another sketch of a house that's suspended, and I sort of embellished it a little bit with these extra things on the roof. Later on in the trip, I went to a Buddhist temple, and I took that reference and then I added it on to this building. So not accurate to the area at all, but that's not what I was going for. I'm more just going for to build up my library of references and to trigger memories, and also to sort of flex my creativity as much as possible.
I need to get there. One of a kind. Oh. Oh.
So here we've gone to a different place. We're in Eunoia here, and we had a very brief stay at one of the beaches, and this was a great beach because it wasn't for tourists, it was actually for fishermen. We were the only tourists there, the only non-natives on the entire beach. It stank of fish. It was so crowded with people with nets of fish and baskets of fish. Now I looked out at the sea and I saw these peculiar boats. They were completely circular. I tried to draw a perfect circle there, but it went very pear-shaped and sort of rounded out. And there would be usually one person per boat, and they would paddle. And then I think they would use the nets, although I was there for a very brief time, so I can't actually verify that. So I just wanted to draw that to remind myself of this really interesting boat. I wasn't able to spend enough time there to actually study how they catch the fish, unfortunately.
If that got hold of me, I'd be dead.
He literally... Oh my god. Jamie's gone.
Did you not see it? Like that?
As you can see, we did a lot of traveling within Vietnam. This was another internal flight. We got an internal flight back up north to Hanoi from Nha Trang. Aeroplane window, I had a wing view seat. I was trying to work on my line width and using the line width to convey depth. But with these lines coming closer to the plane, I tried to make them thicker as they went along. Imagining a rickshaw driver ferrying people back and forth, but in the sky. This was the air hostess. She was a lot more pretty than that. I was too angular I didn't capture the subtlety enough.
It's popcorn ice cream, and they use like dry ice, I guess, to
it must be.
make it. It's really cold, really refreshing, and very nice actually. I really like that.
Okay, so what's the medium one? And the small? 300.
300.
You can do better than 300, right? Cheaper.
Very cheap.
Right.
So here we are in Halong Bay, the most dramatic landscape. Thousands of these islands, most of them very steep, just exploding out of the sea. This was like a particular feature that I really liked, where there were these two steep sides here, and then this forest that sunk in the middle, and it looked like a glacier, the way it clung to these edges. And then there's a floating house at the very bottom. I mean, this isn't even a fantasy, this is real. This place actually exists. We climbed up this mountain, just one of the islands. They're all this steep. It was very hard work. It was the middle of the day. It was very hot. We had one scare on the way up because we found a centipede. It was like the length of my arm, and I was terrified after that. I was checking under all the different branches and stuff. I was like watching my step everywhere I went because I was terrified of finding another one. Yeah, but we got to the top and the view was just insane. It was so good. This is more sort of an observation of the way the landscape goes, because between these mountains they'd have these fields and they were actually relatively flat. It's a very curious land formation where it would suddenly stop and be flat at a certain level. These mountains would separate those fields out. This was the view from my hut where I stayed 2 nights in Halong Bay. You can only access that hut by boat. It was on stilts, and I swam out to this island. Couldn't climb on it because the rock was razor sharp. Every now and then you'd see jellyfish, like these giant jellyfish. I got a bit scared of getting stung by one because I wasn't sure how lethal the jellyfish sting was. One of the members of our group got a jellyfish sting, and he said it wasn't that bad. Red marks on him, but it wasn't. He didn't really complain that much, so. And then this one is a really cool view. I didn't really capture it well, but there was this big tree by this house with red flowers. It looked really nice. And these 2 steep mountain sides came down and converged on this house by the water. And I really, really like the view there. I think it looks amazing. Photographs don't quite capture it the way you see it with your own eyes. Again, that was a mark by accident, made by accident, and I turned it into an eagle descending on the water. We actually did see a lot of eagles there, just soaring through the sky. So yeah, I had to turn it into something, so I turned it into an eagle. So yeah, this is a self-portrait of myself. I messed up one of the eyebrows and made the eyebrow too thick and come onto the eye a little bit too much. So the only option that I had was to equalize it and make it thick eyebrows on both sides. So
3, 2, 1, send it! Oh!
This was my own arm like this. I tried to make a stylized drawing of my arm. I got a scar on my arm from I was diving off the side of the boat, and I was climbing up the ladder, and the ladder was broken, and there was just like a metal shard. I'm actually really happy with like the brush quality in this because I did it very fast. I made very fast movements with the brush, and so the lines came out really confident, despite the fact that the proportions aren't great. I mean, if you look at the length of the arm compared to the size of the hand, that's terrible. But maybe I shouldn't have actually drawn attention to that. I got a bit of heat rash on my arm as well, so that's where I added that pattern in. This is a picture of my friend Connor. He bought one of the sort of traditional Vietnamese hats, which is pretty funny. But I thought it was especially funny that he was wearing that hat, very traditional hat, with some Dre beats. I didn't get a chance in Hanoi to draw a good picture of this lake. I'll put the name of the lake up on the screen because I can't remember it off the top of my head. Look at this building that you see, like it's on its own little island in the middle of the lake with the most amazing architecture on it. And yeah, and I was seeing it through the leaves in the trees. It was amazing. This one was a bridge that went onto a little island where there was a Buddhist temple, and there was this woman in traditional Vietnamese dress with a parasol umbrella on the bridge. There were lots of tourists on the bridge, and that's one of the great things about having a sketchbook, is that you can choose not to draw them. So I only wanted to draw her on the bridge. At the same time, I took a photo of these two kids who were holding hands looking out at the lake, and I love that idea. I thought it was very romantic, a very sweet thing to draw. The picture itself, unfortunately it was blocked by lots of motorbikes that were parked there, so it didn't make for a good picture. So I saw that I'd taken the photo of it though, and I decided to draw it into the shot. This technique that I found with the brush pen, so while the ink was still wet on the page, I would just take my thumb and just drag it down like that and create these streaks that they kind of create the impression of reflection in the water, see? Okay, so we're kind of all over the place with time now. I tried to keep it in chronological order in the beginning, but as time went on, it just got more and more difficult to do that. Picture of a mountaintop from the airport, and I was just working out how the clouds could interact with this mountaintop. That's the ridge there. There's a building there with like telegraph equipment on it, and this cloud was coming over. I didn't quite get it right, but it was a good attempt. And this one was of the telegraph tower. I drew it to be surrounded by clouds, so it was just poking out above the clouds. I thought that would look kind of nice. I looked at the map of Vietnam. what I could see a dragon rising up out of the flame and spreading its wings. So I took that map, I drew the map first here, and then I drew over the top of it. I drew the dragon over the top. I mean, this wing is really messed up. Don't look at that wing. But the rest of it, I thought it was a kind of cool idea. It was cool that I got the idea for that from the map. I thought that was pretty neat. I wanted to draw the map as well to show you the origin of where I got the idea from. Yeah, this page kind of half finished, but the idea of it was kind of inspired by my time at Halong Bay. We went out at night into the sea. We went swimming in the sea. We went swimming specifically because on that night there were glowing plankton. It was amazing. That I didn't at first think that it was going to happen in the way that it did, because once I went to Iceland and I saw Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, and when I actually saw them in person, I thought to myself, oh, they're actually really faint and they move very slowly. It's not like the pictures that you see. So I thought it was kind of the same. I thought that Life of Pi did that scene, but it was very exaggerated and it wouldn't actually look like that. It actually does. It actually looked so vivid. When you would swim, when you would tread water and move your hand through the water, it would glow wherever you moved it, and it would glow in streaks. So you could kick with the water and it would create this bright phosphorescent glow, this bright turquoise glow, and it was mesmerizing. It's like nothing I've ever seen. And yeah, we swam to this nearby cave, went into the cave. It was pitch black except for the water. There was like a little beach in the cave, and the water lapped up against the side, against the sand of this beach, and where it lapped, wherever it moved, there was this glowing of the glowing plankton. A really special moment, I think. So I had to do some kind of sketch for it. So here I did the waves on the sand, except I can't draw light. Not with white and black. It's tried to draw these little white sort of dots like this, and didn't really work. So these were some friends that I was swimming with, yeah, and then the hand with the streak, but I couldn't really draw it. I mean, worst hand I've ever drawn. I've reached the end of the sketches I did in Vietnam. That's how far I got through the sketchbook in 3 weeks of traveling there. That's the most I was able to do. I wanted a full sketchbook from Vietnam, but it takes too much time to draw, and the opportunities you have to draw when you're backpacking around, there aren't actually that many. I can fill the rest up with other stuff. If you're wondering where to travel to, if you've got some money, you don't need a lot, quite affordable out there, yeah, I recommend Vietnam. Make sure you subscribe and check out my Patreon page, link in the description. You can help to support the making of these videos. I spent an awful long time editing this, and so I really appreciate anyone who wants to give something back each episode that I make. I'm back. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. I had the time of my life. Plenty of benefits actually to doing a travel journal like this. First one is I got to keep up my drawing skills and my drawing practices as I was traveling. The second one is being able to appreciate the things around me, to actually focus on the contours of a building and to actually put them down. It gave me a greater appreciation of that. Also to keep my creative muscles going. I was coming up with lots of ideas, and another unseen benefit of it was that it was a great icebreaker, because as I was traveling, other travelers and local people would see me drawing in my sketchbook and would come over to me and say, oh, that's a nice drawing that you've got there. Are you an artist? Blah, blah, blah. And we'd get talking that way. So it was a great icebreaker as well. As for the journey itself, I've come back from this with so many stories. There's so much stuff that I can't really, I can't summarize it all for you. If you like these kind of videos, let me know and I'll do more of them. I'm planning to go to Japan next year, and I've got a bunch of other trips
potentially going to go down, so it's probably something I'll do anyway, even if no one watches it. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.